Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Thank you, Ramapati Prabhu. If you could repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this evening, we'll be reading from Bhagavad Gita, as it is, chapter 5, text 24. Yunta sukuntar aramas tatantar jyotir evaya sayogi brahma nirvanam brahmabhuto tigachate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberating the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Purport. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can, therefore, sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back to home. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusita Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So that brief introduction that Mukunda Charna Prabhu gave, I moved into the temple on July 26, 2020. And I'll tell you an interesting story. When I first started coming to the temple, I loved how the devotees lived their life. They lived a very simple life. And Balaram Prabhu, he gave a class, and he was saying how there was a brahmachari, a monk living at the temple. And he was looking outside the temple and thinking, when am I going to leave? But for me, I was thinking the opposite. I was looking in, thinking, when am I going to move into the temple? So by the grace of my spiritual master, he was able to cut my attachments, whatever they were, and I finally moved into the temple. And my mother, she sent me a text. She was blaming herself. She said, I know you moved out, because I know it was my fault. So I assured her that it wasn't, that I'm doing this for her. You know, she doesn't know what I'm up. So moving into the temple, it's a very enlivening experience. And I had this attraction of becoming a monk, you know, to just let go of the material world and try to be absorbed in service to others, service to Krishna. So thank you for being here this evening on this cold, wet Sunday. And you can be doing so many things with your time, but you chose to come here to this wonderful Hare Krishna temple. So I want to show my appreciation for coming here. And also for those that are watching online. Thank you. So there's one word on everybody's mind. Does anybody want to guess what that is? It's not prasadam. It's not prasadam. It's happiness. So this one word, it motivates, it compels, and it forces people to get up from bed, or else why would they be getting up? And at the present moment, everyone is chasing this one word, happiness. And we're trying to purchase happiness. I need a bigger house, and then I'll be happy. I need a newer car, and then I'll be happy. I need a newer phone, I'll be happy. And sometimes, even if we get these things, we're not satisfied. Because happiness, it's a state of mind. And like Mukunda Charna Prabhu mentioned, one of my main services for the temple is book distribution. And there's a saying that the face is an index of the mind. And I see hundreds of people every day. Do they look happy? No. Balboa Park is a tourist spot, and I guess it's ranked number 4 of the most visited places in San Diego. And during the December month, there's so many people. And I was just watching them. People are looking for happiness, but they don't know where to search. There's a story in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's this deer, this musk deer, and it emanates a certain fragrance from its navel glands. And it gets a whiff, and it goes crazy. And it tries to look for this source of this scent, this fragrance. It goes into the forest. It starts chasing here and there. It goes here, it can't find it. It goes to another place, and it can't find it. And eventually, it dies out of exhaustion. And then a hunter captures it and extracts all of this musk. This is where the musk from, perfumes and colognes come from. So this musk deer, it represents the human beings in this world. We're going here, we're going there, we're trying to find happiness. But the source of happiness is actually from within. I was distributing books today, and I asked this one person, I said, "Are you happy?" And he said, "I'm happy for now." So I said, repeat what you said. He said, "I'm happy for now." So happiness, material happiness, is known as sukha. And the example is, so happiness is defined as a cessation of pain. And when we are in a painful condition, when we get relief from pain, we consider this to be happiness. And the example is darkness. Darkness is pain. And when you light a lamp for a moment, there's light. So this light, it represents happiness. But the lamp, it can easily be extinguished, and then it goes back to darkness. So this is considered to be happiness. But higher than happiness is a word called ananda. And ananda means complete removal of darkness or pain and suffering. And people, they don't know the difference between happiness and pleasure, right? And happiness depends on who you think you are. If you think you're the body, you think happiness means just satisfying the senses of the body. And if you think you're the mind, you think happiness means acquiring some knowledge, material knowledge. But higher than this type of happiness, mental happiness, is on the spiritual platform, when we understand that I'm the soul, the eternal soul. The soul is searching for spiritual happiness and not material happiness. The example is, if you try to mix oil and water, you can't mix it, because they're two different things. So similarly, the soul is searching for spiritual happiness, and it will never find happiness in this realm of matter. Look at these people, they have so much resources at their disposal, but sometimes they ask themselves, is life worth living? Well, La Jolla Cove, I heard it's a very wealthy part of San Diego, but I also heard there's a lot of suicide there. And why would anyone take their own life when they have everything materially? So this proves that money can't buy happiness. My spiritual master, His Holiness Bhadrinarayan Swami Maharaj, he was at this conference, a seminar with Ambarish Prabhu. He's a grandson of Henry Ford. The Ford family, they're wealthy. So the speaker said one line. He said, happiness or money can't buy happiness. And Ambarish Prabhu, he said, people that have money, they know that it's true. And then he said, people that don't have money, they wish that it's true. So this example of material happiness is flickering. It has a beginning and an end. I was distributing, I'm going to tell a lot of Sankirtan stories, so I hope you guys don't mind. Book distribution. I was speaking to a young person the other day, and I asked him, what is your day-to-day like? What is your schedule? And this young man broke down crying. He said, I don't even have time to play my guitar. And I said, what is taking your time? And he said, work, school. And I told him, why do you want to go to school? And he said, I want to get a good grades. Why do you want good grades? I want to have a nice job, so on and so on. And ultimately I said, why do you want, the end? He said, I want to be happy. So I said, you're doing all of these things, but the ultimate result, you want to be happy. And I said, why do you need all of these things to be happy? Let me show you this book. So I showed Bhagavad Gita. And I showed him that verse where Krishna describes, for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a person, happiness and distress, he then called honor and dishonor all the same. So I was telling him that these dualities in life, you can transcend this. And I said it starts with the mind. And then I asked him, how is your mind treating you? And he just looked down, So the mind is very powerful, but we need to understand what the mind is. I was speaking to some Mataji today, and I showed her that verse, and she said, I don't like that word. And she dropped the book. And I said, what word? She said, I don't want to control my mind. And I said, what if your mind is your worst enemy? And then she said, no, I let my mind do whatever it wants. And it's very scary, actually. Imagine the mind telling you there's nothing to live for. Go jump off that bridge. And if we are weak-minded, we become a victim to our own mind. I was talking to some person, and I was telling him how people want these material things. I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a car salesman. And then he said, I sell people happiness. So he understood that he's cheating people, We don't need any of these to be happy. But unfortunately, commercials and advertisement, what they do is they implant seeds in the mind. And we start being dissatisfied with what we have. I need to upgrade, I need this, I need that. And then we go on this endless pursuit for so-called happiness. I was distributing books at La Jolla Cove, and there was this materially successful looking gentleman. And I asked him, what do you do? And he said, I own a Fortune 500 company. I own 10 different properties, and I drive a Lamborghini. And he expected me to be enamored by this information, So I smiled, and I said, let me tell you something. So I heard this line, so I've been saying it to people. I said, some people are so poor, all they have is money. And he thought about it, And I said, if you want to see how wealthy you are, you count the things that money can't buy. Compassion, tolerance, kindness, humility, and forgiveness. And then I asked him, are you happy? And then he really thought about it, I said, are you satisfied with what you have? And he said, no. So, long story short, he refused to take a book. And I was distributing that day. And maybe an hour came, and he came back to the table. He said, I thought about what you said. And then I hit him with another one. I said, are you making an impact in other people's lives, or are you just satisfied with your own happiness? And then he shook my hand. He said, I needed to hear this. So I kindly thanked him for being honest, and he gave a very generous donation. And I gave him so many books. Like he was loaded, I said, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that this, all the wealth in the three worlds cannot equal to one nectarian fruit of love of Godhead. So all the wealth in the world, they can't amount to what we have here. And we are distributing them. Srila Prabhupada, he describes what is this unfortunate word. He said if a poor person is looking for wealth and you hand him 1 billion gold coins and he refuses, and then that makes him unfortunate. So many people, they refuse to get our books. These books, they can solve all the problems in life. Depression, anxiety, loneliness, suicide, things like that. So we are humbly attempting to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books every day, almost every day. And who else besides the devotees that will tell these people this, you know? You don't need a big house. We're actually telling them the truth. But I'll tell you another story. I was distributing at La Jolla Cove, and there was this family from Nigeria. There was like 5 of them, the father, the mother, and the 3 kids. And they said, we'll be back. So they went around, and then they came back to my table. And the husband, he said, you know what? You're the only person that wants to give us something. Everyone else wants to take something from us. So I smiled, and I started showing them the books. And he said, how much do you want for the books? I said, we just humbly ask for a donation. You can give whatever you can from the heart. He reached in his wallet, and he gave $100. But this is not common, actually. There was another mother with her granddaughter 2 days ago, and I was presenting the books, you know. I was telling them what is in the books, and I told them that these books, they help to solve all your material problems. So she said, how much do you want for the books? She was going to get just the Bhagavad Gita, 1 book. And I said, you can give whatever you can. The donation goes back to printing more books. So she said, do you take a card? And I said, yes. So I gave her my phone, and I said, you can enter whatever amount you would like. So she entered, she swiped, and she gave me the phone back. And when I looked, it was $100. People, they'll pay for something that is worth to them, you know. So I said, you know, that was very generous. Let me give you some other books. I gave her a stack and some other books. And the young lady, the granddaughter, I said, what do you want to do when you go to college? And she said, I have no idea. So I gave her The Journey of Self-Discovery. I said, this book will help you to make all the right decisions in your life. And it'll save you from a lot of useless endeavor in this material world. So she took the book very happily, and they went on their way. And I can hear them discussing the conversation that we had. There was a king, it was his birthday, and he wanted to do something for his birthday. He said, the first person I meet, I'm going to try to satisfy him. Whatever he wants, I'm going to give it to him. So he was walking, and he saw this poor person, this beggar. He said, excuse me, sir, I want to give you something. What would you like? So the beggar said, if you have any copper coins, I'll take. So the king gave 1 copper coin. And this beggar, he was very clumsy. Sorry. He was very clumsy. He started jumping up in the air, and he dropped this coin, and it went into the gutter. So the king said, never mind, I'll give you some more copper coins. So the beggar said, okay. He took the coins, and he put it down, and then he was still digging in the gutter. And the king said, I'll give you silver coins. So the beggar, he put it down on the ground, and he kept searching for this copper coin. And the king said, I'll give you bags of gold coins. You know, just forget about this copper coin. And the beggar said, no matter how much you give me, until the coin in the gutter comes out, I will not be happy. So people are holding on to these silly things, you know. When we're offering them the best thing, they refuse. So that makes them unfortunate. And the mind has a tendency to be dissatisfied with what it has. And it's always looking for satisfaction in what it doesn't have. There's a saying that people spend money that they don't have to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. You know, I was distributing books, and I asked the person, how much do you have in your bank account, you know? And he actually showed me. It was like $80. And I said, what are you going to do today? He said, I'm going to go to these museums. I said, do you know how much they cost? He said, no. I said, some of them are very expensive. And I said, but you don't have enough to buy the tickets for the museums. He said, it's okay, I can use my credit card. So people, not only are they materially poor, but they're spiritually malnourished also. And it's funny how the mind works. Dvija Mani, myself and Maharaj, we went to Honolulu, Hawaii. The people in California thinks I'll be happier if I go to Hawaii. And when we were there, guess what the people were thinking? If I go to California, I'll be happy. So everyone's thinking the grass is greener on the other side. But what if it's not, you know? And there's a funny cartoon. I've never seen it in person. But I heard in India, they use this animal. It's a donkey. And this donkey is very lazy, you know, in a matter of working. So how they entice it is that they put a stick on the back of this donkey's neck. And then they put a string. And then what do they put it in that string? A carrot. See? And this donkey, this poor donkey, is putting so much work. But does it know that when it takes one step forward, the carrot also takes one step, you know? So similarly, people are always chasing and chasing and chasing. Happiness is a state of mind, and happiness is a science. It's kind of funny when you think about it, you know, how to learn to be happy. But it's true. Just like to become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, there's a science. You take classes, you study books, you study under a teacher that can guide you. You take an exam and then you get the title of a doctor. Excuse me. So happiness is also a science. But people don't know what is real happiness.
I have a question.
Maybe you can wait till the end of class. Write it down so you don't forget. Okay. And Krishna describes there's different types of happiness. There's happiness in the mode of passion. It's described that in the beginning, it tastes like nectar, right? And then it's actually poison. And then there's happiness in the mode of ignorance, where it's just misery from beginning to end. And then there's happiness in the mode of goodness. In the beginning, it tastes a little bitter, but in the end, it's nectar. So the type of happiness that people are looking for is just this flickering, immediate happiness. I was speaking to one person today, and I asked her, "What do you do for work?" And she said, "I'm a doctor." And I said, "Why do you want to be what made you decide to be a doctor?" And she said, "I want to help people." And I said, "You're helping people, but are they any happier?" And she said, "I don't think so." And I said, "What do you think the problem is?" And she said, "I don't know." So I showed her this verse in the Bhagavad Gita, how in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. And I said, this is real knowledge. If you can't tolerate whatever is happening to us, and we should understand why it's happening to us. Does anyone know what the word karma means? Of course you guys know, right? So karma means the basic laws of action or reaction, or they call it the laws of motion. Or more easier term, as you sow, so shall you reap. So this life is a preparation for the next. And whatever we are enjoying or suffering in this life is due to our past life. And so many people, if they understand this, it can save them so much suffering. But they refuse to understand karma. Why? Because they're scared of reincarnation. I was telling this one Mataji, I said, "Here, I think you'll like this book. It's called Coming Back, The Science of Reincarnation." And she immediately put it down. She said, "I don't want to come back." I said, "That's why you should take this book." Yeah. But she said, I'm very terrified to come back. And I said, "Why?" And she said, "I'm already suffering in this life." So I smiled and I said, "Please read this book." You know. And I was actually begging her. I said, "Please take the time to read this book. You'll understand why you're suffering." And she said, "Okay, I believe you." She said, how much do you want? I said, we just asked for a donation. And she gave a donation and she went on her way. A few days later, I saw the same person and she thanked me. She said, thank you for allowing me to get this book. I understand now. And she said, Krishna consciousness is the key. She said that. I said, Krishna consciousness liberates the soul from this bondage of samsara, the cycle of repeated birth and death. And a lot of people, they don't understand that rebirth is painful. Srila Prabhupada describes that the living entity is in an airtight sack and it can't breathe and it's being bitten by worms. I was going to LA, and LA is about a 2-hour drive. At least in the car you can stretch your legs, right? You can open the windows. But imagine being in this airtight sack for 8 to 9 months. And depending on, people don't like this word, but how sinful we are, sometimes we are aborted and then we go to another room. And then we stay in this condition for another 9 months. And then sometimes we may not take birth for 9 months. Or 9 times, meaning the mother keeps aborting the child, And then we go through this painful experience again. So I'll conclude here. Srila Prabhupada, he describes that time is one of the most valuable things that we have in this world. There was a patient, and he was dying from cancer. And he asked the doctor, please doctor, can you extend my life for another 3 months? I have so much unfinished business I want to take care of. And the doctor said, I can't help you. So even if you have the best doctor, even if you have so much money, it won't guarantee that you'll live for another 5 minutes. So we should utilize our time properly. And this endless, pointless, and self-defeating struggle for existence is known as the rat race. Do you guys know what a rat race is? What is a rat race? Can someone? You guys know? Matsuji? Okay, hold on. It's for the internet. So this rat race, what is it?
When a rat runs on a wheel and it just continues over and over and over again, like it's going somewhere so fast, but it just stays in the same place.
So a lot of people, they're stuck in this rat race. They're putting so much effort, but they're going nowhere. And I asked this person walking by, I said, do you know what a rat race is? He said, I'm in it. I said, how far along are you? And he became very serious. He said, are you kidding? So people, they're putting so much effort trying to get wealth, trying to get this and that, but they end up in the same place. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu sarva harashchaham, that at the time of death I take everything away, everything. So we don't keep our wealth, we don't keep our house, we don't keep even the relationships that we establish here. Everything's broken at the time of death. So this rat race, the only way we can get off of it is by practicing Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalau Nasta Eva, Nasta Eva, Nasta Eva Gatyanyata. In this iron age of Kali, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so this is the fun part. I'm going to tell some sweet Sankirtan stories. There was a family and they had a 5-year-old daughter. And I was explaining to them how this book is very important. It's very, very important. And it's a very special book. And the little girl grabbed the book from me. and she held it in her arms. And then she told her mom, "Mom, I want this book. I want to read it. I want all of us to read it." And then without even saying anything to me, she left. And she went to her grandma. She said, "Grandma, look, I have a very special book. We should read it together as a family." And then this little girl, she was so intelligent, 5 years old. She can understand the value in these books. So the mother and the father, they asked me, "How long have you been doing this?" I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Distributing books." And I said, "I've been doing it for maybe 4 or 5 years now, And then she said, "You're very good at it." And I said, "I don't do this just to get commission. I do this to help people." And I told her, by helping people, 2 people benefit, yourself and the person whom you give help to. So it's very auspicious. And then the father looked at me and said, "Thank you for helping our daughter." And I said, "You should encourage her to read." Balaram Prabhu, he says that reading is a lost interest. When was the last time we picked up a book and we read it? What about you?
I'm reading Bhagavad Gita every day.
Wonderful. People, they haven't picked up a book in years, So we have a very thankless task, book distributors. So anyway, this family, they gave a donation and they went on their way. And the little girl, you can see her just hugging this Bhagavad Gita in her hands, And I met this young people, and they were in this lovey-dovey stage in a relationship. You guys know how that is, So I said, "What do you guys do for work?" And the young man said, "I sell marijuana." And I said, "What about you, Mataji?" The girl. And she said, "I'm not working." I said, "Okay, me too." So I said, what brings you guys to the park? And then they said, "We're trying to search for something here. We're trying to search for something meaningful." So I gave them the books and I explained that these books, they're the most important books that you can read in your life. And they said, "Thank you. These books will be the start of our new life." So even no matter who you are, young, old, if the person presents these books nicely, and then they'll take it. There's a place in Balboa Park called the Old Globe Theater, and it was an actor. He was an actor. And I gave him a set of books, and I was telling him how if you want to be happy, you have to follow 4 regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no gambling. And he said, "But I've been smoking weed, marijuana my whole life. How can I give it up?" And I smiled and I said, "I used to be like you. How can I give up this?" Anyway. So a week later he came back and then he said, "Guess what?" I said, "What?" He said, "I stopped smoking marijuana." And I said, "Are you happier?" He said, "I'm so much happy." And I said, "How's your mind?" And he says, "Very clear now." So people don't understand that these intoxicants, they actually cloud the mind. Your judgments become poor, and then you don't think straight. And I said, "What about the other 3? He said, "I'm working on it." So that's a little step, but he was so thankful. And then so he shook my hand and he said, "I'm going to finish reading those books." Okay, so a few more. There was I met this person, they were from Philadelphia, and it was her and her friend, and I said, "Can I have a minute of your time?" They came to my table, and I gave this girl the stack of books, Bhagavad Gita, hiding in unnatural, everything. And she said, I know who these books are going to go to. And I said, "Who is it for?" And she said, "My boyfriend." She said, "My boyfriend doesn't want these souvenirs, a plastic cup or a mug, She said he wanted books. And then she said, "You came at the perfect time." And I said, "Nothing happens by chance, So they appreciate the conversation. They gave a donation and they went on their way. And I was thinking how wonderful Krishna is, He puts the people that need these books at the right time. There was this one Mataji. She said, "I want to get this." I didn't even call her. She said, I want to get this Bhagavad Gita. And I said, who is it for? She says, for my nephew. My nephew, he was deployed, and he forgot his Bhagavad Gita. And I said, is he reading this Bhagavad Gita? She said, yes, as it is. And then she said, this book saved my nephew's life. He was living a very destructive life. But when he read the Bhagavad Gita, he started changing like that for the better. So she said, I want to get this book, and I want to get one for myself. And I said, perfect. So she took the books, and then she went on her way. And so we're trying to make the unfortunate fortunate by these books. So sometimes I know we're very busy with our everyday life. You know, we can't help in Sankirtan or book distribution. So my humble appeal is you can sponsor the books, you can give a donation, and we will do the book distribution for you. And you'll receive credit also. Abhi Mataji here in the front, she's been distributing books, and you can see how blissful she is, you know. She shares these stories, and Marcy Mataji too. She took 4 boxes of Bhagavad Gita, this one here, and she's distributing them. So anyone can distribute Bhagavad Gita. So thank you for your time and attention. I know my talk wasn't so nice, but are there any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu?
You gave me an example of a story in which...
Hold on. Sorry. This is for the audience.
Thank you. Prabhu, I have a question. The question is, you gave an example where exactly a beggar and a king. So the king gave him a copper coin, and when he lost it, he started searching for it, right? So the king gave him something else now. Yeah. So instead, if the king asked him, give back 8 copper coins because you lost 1 coin, so in that scenario, how do we need to react?
I'm sorry?
If the beggar was asked, so you lost the coin that I gave you, so the king is asking the beggar, give me 8 copper coins because you lost it. So now in that scenario, how the beggar needs to react?
I don't think I told it like that.
My question is, in case if it happened that way, so we need to also have an answer for that, right? So
Okay.
how do we need to react?
Well, like I was saying, the mind is never satisfied with what we have. It's always longing for... See, the mind is always hankering and lamenting. It always wants something that it doesn't have, and then it laments for what it used to have.
Okay, assume that the beggar is enlightened. So in that scenario, if the beggar needs to answer back to the king, so what should be the answer? If we...
Yeah. He'll never be satisfied. He said, no matter how much coin you give me, I will never be happy unless I get that first coin. Yeah.
You tell him I'll pay you later when I get the coin.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that answer a little bit?
No, actually, I'm in that state now, so I just wanted to know how do I need to answer. So.
You should pray to Krishna and he'll guide you.
Okay.
You know, philosophy is very important.
Okay, I have 2 more questions related to Bhagavad Gita because I read it. So while reading it, so one question which was always coming into my mind was, so Krishna says sacrifices. He talks about sacrifices. Mm-hmm. So he also talks about animal sacrifice. So how does, when throughout the Bhagavad Gita he says that we should not harm anybody, we should not kill anything, but why is that animal sacrifice is also part of sacrifice? He says that the demigods they get impressed by that and they give you back the fruits for whatever sacrifice you did.
You're reading this Bhagavad Gita?
Yes.
I don't remember Krishna recommending animal sacrifice.
There was one place where I'll underline it and I'll come back the next time and I'll show you. So it talks about animal sacrifice.
Mantran yajnanam api mantrasya. Krishna says among sacrifices I am the chanting of the holy name. He doesn't say among sacrifice I am killing of the animals. Right?
Within the Vedic literatures, especially within the original you could say 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, there's some allowance for animal sacrifice. However, if you read in the Puranas, it specifically says that such sacrifices aren't meant for this age of Kali. Previously, those sacrifices were performed in such a way. Well, one thing is that they're extremely elaborate. They require a number of extremely qualified brahmanas who can chant the mantras very specifically, all the svaras exactly correctly. And then from that, an animal is sacrificed, and immediately when the animal is sacrificed, it directly comes out of the fire in a new body. So these things don't happen in this age because there's no qualified priests to perform such sacrifices, and anyway, people don't really know how to do it. So sometimes it goes on in India in some kind of farcical way, but it's not something that's recommended for this age. And if you read Srila Prabhupada's commentary in Bhagavad Gita, it comes up that such things aren't meant for this age. Yeah. And then it's one thing is it's not harming the animal, because immediately the animal gets a brand new body. It immediately comes out of the fire in a brand new body if it's performed correctly. But again, such things don't happen in this age.
And the last question is, Krishna also has a child, right? So Pradyumna. So is it like a child born out of not the normal activity of human being? Because that is something again confuses, because he talks about we should get rid of all these qualities. Then Pradyumna, was he born like a Jesus Christ?
Krishna, one thing Krishna does, well, there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita I'm sure you're very familiar with. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharataha abhyutanam dharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. Krishna comes to this world specifically for dharma samstapana. He comes to establish dharma. So Krishna performs these things. It's lila, the way he does it. He performs these things, these activities. To give an example, if Krishna just came and, just flaunted all the rules and did everything, then it would just be chaos. People would say, okay, look, Krishna, and it already happens, in certain ways Krishna does flaunt the rules, and people look at it and say, well, hey, Krishna did it, I can do it. So Lord Ram is Maryada Purushottama. He comes to establish what's right and what's wrong. So was he born through the normal activities of conception and all that? Something like that, maybe. It's not really mentioned. But anyway, whatever Krishna does is not normal. It's not. He's not human. Krishna had 16,001 anyway. So, and he expanded himself to, be present with all of them at the same time. So, he's God. He can do many things we can't do. So nothing that Krishna does is normal. So whether it was or it wasn't, that it happened through, semi, or you could say like some semblance of what we do, it doesn't really matter that much.
In relation to your last question, sometimes the different, you could say, incarnations of Krishna, sometimes they appear as you could say ordinary living entities appear, through parents. But there's also other times where the incarnations don't appear like that. Like, for example, you have Varahadev, right? The boar incarnation of Krishna, and he comes out of the nose of Lord Brahma, like a very small, and then he expands. Or you have Matsya, he doesn't cut. So there's different ways they appear. The different incarnations of Krishna. Yeah. Like Kapila Dev, it says that Kapila Dev was born, or he appeared through the combination of his parents. You know how normally children. Yeah. So, any other questions or comments? Does anybody have? Okay.
Getting back to the original topic of happiness. Earlier today, I was thinking about my day and what I was planning on doing, and I read to a group of little kids earlier, and that brought me some joy. But the other part was, you know, I need my me time, and Sundays is my me time, and I need to get back to that. And part of the me time for years has been coming to here, the temple. And I have found over the last many moons that for me the only time I'm genuinely happy, because I got a lot of not being happy reasons, is when we're doing kirtan. Like seriously. Sometimes the only way I even get joy is watching everybody else doing kirtan. Now, I'm at my office Monday through Friday, focused on my computer, and I can't do kirtan, and there's nobody there with me. How do I expand those moments?
Okay. Thank you. I'll try to answer it. When I was working, I would always have something to remind me of Krishna. You know, whether it's a picture of Krishna, whether it's listening to, are you able to listen with your headphones? Okay, yeah, you can listen to like that. And also, remembering Krishna is actually what makes us happy. The souls are part and parcels of Krishna, you know. So it's natural that we feel happy here in this temple, especially by glorifying Krishna together, whether it's kirtan, class, things like that. But I would say try to find something that always reminds you of Krishna, and then they'll help throughout your day. Even by before drinking water, you know, offer it to Krishna, things like that. Yeah, I hope that helped in some way. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Gaur Keshava Prabhu, are you going to say something?
So as we all know that today evening in US is tomorrow morning in India, and we are installing Lord Ram's deity at the Ayodhya temple. So to welcome Lord Ram into our hearts, which is, you know, we are trying to light the lamps and offer it to Krishna here to celebrate this momentous occasion. So please join while the kirtan is going on and light the lamps with all your love and devote it to Lord Ram. Thank you.
Sorry, one more. Who here doesn't have a Bhagavad Gita? This Bhagavad Gita, raise your hand. Okay. We can give it to you also. We have books here. So please come see one of us and then we'll give you a book. If you haven't read this Bhagavad Gita, you've been living under a rock. It's so wonderful, you know. And how Krishna, Arjuna, he was a great warrior, you know, but he became perplexed. When he asked Krishna, please take me in the middle of the battlefield, I want to see those I have to contend with, those I have to kill. And on the opposing side were his family. Everyone that he loved was on the opposite side. And he had to kill these people, you know. So that represents that some point in our life we're going to hit a crossroad. And our friends and family that we trust, they're on the other side. Right? So then who can we consult with? And that's Krishna. And then Krishna directs us on what is proper. Okay, thank you. We're going to have a nice kirtan now. Balaram, yes?
All right, thank you, Govardhan. Hare Krishna.